Hello, BookTube. I once again had access to a car today and fun young company, so I spent probably a little more time out and about than I should have, considering that my sweet old dog seems to be going through a bit of a thing. And it's probably nothing, but when you're very old and you're very frail, even a small bit of a thing feels like the whole world to you, and you can very much appreciate having someone there to comfort you. Uh, but it was just the one time. I'm usually here all the time, and it was so much fun. The boys and I drove out to a whole bunch of different places, including a whole bunch of uh, venues for used books, of course. And I filled the part of the back seat with finds that I wanted to share with you today. And the finds, I mean, they're all over the map, as you might expect from this channel. But they raised a question with me. I'm gonna bring it up at the end of the video, or as I get further into the video, because it occurred to me that it's a question that I've had a tough time answering it. I haven't been able to find an answer, and it occurred to me that you can help me with the answer. So I want to start off by showing you the stuff. I had a ton of luck with second chance finds, books that I've read and loved and then got rid of for some reason. And that's the first of these is William Barnhart's Lookaway, Lookaway, which is he's done only a handful of novels, and they've each been radically different from the others, and this is no exception. This is a Southern high drama and comedy of manners, totally different than the book he wrote before. And the main character is a Southern matriarch named Jareen Johnston, who rules the book just like she rules her dysfunctional family. And it's amazingly good. It's so sharp and acidic, and it does the old-fashioned favor for the reader of having a slam-bang ending, a gigantic stereotypical cocktail throwing massive ending scene. And I was happy to find it in a hardcover for. I mean, these things were all virtually free. They were so cheap, cheaper even than my beloved Brattle Bookshop, which I didn't go to today because the morning forecast predicted showers all day long, which didn't actually materialize. And when there are showers in the forecast, the Brattle covers its outside sale carts, which is 90% of the reason that I go there. So I tend to, like daisies. I tend not to bloom at the Brattle in bad weather. So, but anyway, I was happy to find this because I don't think I have a copy. And then the next one's another one that not only did I love, but I also reviewed and got rid of it, and I don't know why. It's Rawhide Down. This is Del Quentin Wibbler's history of the 1981 assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan that came very close to succeeding, and about which John and Mary Q. Public don't know the whole story and likely never will. I launched into this book when it first came out, interested to see if the author would even hint at some of the subterranean depths that are involved and that are revealed even tangentially by the openly admitted fact on the day of the assassination attempt of the close connections between the Bush family and the Hinckley family. That don't really they don't really surface in this book, unfortunately, and that's a bit of a shame. But well, actually, let's see what. No, okay, no. It's very entertaining. It's a very entertaining, quick narrative trot through the more public aspects of this story. The author is not a muckraker, so he doesn't dig in. But as far as a one-stop place to read it, it's kind of essential for a Reagan library, and I have one of those. So you'd think I would have kept it, but no. I was glad to find it. Another one, really happy to find, even though it has, the edition that I found it in, it has a very boring cover, and that's the Northern Clemencies by Philip Henschler, who I think is a fantastic novelist, just incredibly good. And this is about it's set in the Thatcher era, in England, and it's about a family, a sort of stereotypical nuclear family that moves from London to Sheffield in the north of England, and somewhat rightfully views that as a perilous exile to barbarian lands. And the book is really about their adventures there, including a couple of horrific things that happen to their little boy, and then it moves forward in time following him, and it's all so richly intelligent. Just this author, I've read everything he's ever done. He can do no wrong, as far as I'm concerned. A lot like Wilton Barnard, who also, when he turns his hand to fiction, can do no wrong. And then the next one was a classic example of an author who can do no wrong, and I don't have it. I'm waiting for a Penguin classic that will someday occur, and that's The Collected Stories of Udora Welty. Great Southern fiction. I hesitated for a minute there because I realized I have her short story collection in the same pile with another piece of Southern fiction that of course doesn't even begin to aspire to this level of brilliance. But her short stories are amazing, and this collection of them is also a landmark short story collection of American literature in the 20th century. So why? Well, it has a lovely paperback reprint right now these days, I think from Vintage. No, well, I don't actually know who does the current paperback, but I'm pretty sure the paperback of Collected Stories of Udora Welty is in print. But I'm just waiting for Library of America or Penguin Classics to honor it with a reprint that will go into schools, that will keep her immortal, because students really need to be reading her. And then this is a fiction heavy haul, but the next thing is a piece of nonfiction, and not only nonfiction but catty nonfiction. It's Brendan Gill's famous book Here at the New Yorker, which I found in a hardcover with a dust jacket that is perfectly new. It doesn't even have yellowing. You could easily have picked this up off the tables at Crocs and Brentano's 35 years ago, and all I have is a little mass market that I've read all to pieces, because this is such an entertaining book about his years during the formative era of the New Yorker, and it's really entertaining. Although, oh my God, you should take everything in here with a truckload of salt, not just a grain. Brendan Gill is a wonderful storyteller, something that you will know if you ever have the fortune to read his own fiction. He's known now entirely for this book. His reputation, the writing that he did at the New Yorker is gone. His reputation as a social commentator is gone. This is a perfect example of an author who's known for one book. But he wrote fiction that was really good and is worth your time to find if your library hasn't thrown it in the dumpster already. But his vicious backstabbing anecdotes here about every single person at the New Yorker are so priceless. Even though I believe that the book did real damage, especially to John O'Hara. But that's a rant for another video. And then we get back to fiction. I hit a bunch of novels that this time around in this out and about mail haul that I really wanted to have, but this is the thing I was talking about. This is the question that has been on my mind forever since I've had this channel, which is about giveaways. I don't know how to do giveaways. I don't know a way to do it. I don't like the mercenary aspect of, the first person to say something in the comments. That isn't fair to the fact that, that a large portion of my viewers are from other countries, other time zones. It doesn't seem fair to do that. And aside from first come, first serve, I really don't know how to do a giveaway on this channel. And I feel like I should know how, because today is a perfect example of why. A lot of you email me about what, or you make videos about what your daily lives are like. You have work, you have school, you have family, you have significant others, and also sometimes a distinct paucity of used bookstores in your local area. So, and by contrast, I see piles of used books of all descriptions all the time. Every time I leave the house, that's a large part of why I'm going, except when I go to the Christian Science Monitor. I see a ton of good quality used paperbacks and hardcovers all the time. And I constantly think, well, I would gladly, I mean, these things are 25 cents. I would gladly get what you're interested in and mail it to you if I knew. It seems like these ships are crossing in the night, and that it would take just a tiny tweak to make a system that would work. I don't know what that tweak is. Should I don't know. I want your thoughts on the matter. How do I give away books? And like, for instance, this next one, or these next few, are novels that I already own, but I found them for 25 cents each. I wasn't about to leave them behind, and my first thought was, surely I can find someone to give them to. Uh, I really want to know a way that I can do that. That works. I mean, it's one thing if you see a new book that I'm opening on camera and you say, "Oh, I would like that." It's even another thing if you see a haul like this and say, "Well, I saw a copy of something that you held up. You said it was a double. I would love to have it, and the bookstores near me will never have it." Those two things are fine. But what about during the actual hunting for the book itself? When I haven't picked something out, and where I maybe wouldn't pick it out unless I knew you wanted it. So, we'll figure it out. I'm probably not being very clear, but the next book is a success story of modern literature. It's Naked Singularity. This is by Sergio de la Pava, and this edition is the University of Chicago Press, this lovely psychedelic edition, but it didn't start out that way. It started out as a self-published novel, and a very obscure one at that, with cover art that wasn't anything like this, and with faulty backing. And so that, as a hardcover, it sort of fell apart when you were reading it. I got it in the mail, unsolicited, of course. No one knew anything about it, and I read it and thought it was brilliant. It's a gigantic Thomas Pynchon-esque story, but one of the main things is this sort of street fighting public prosecutor in the New York legal system, and the New York legal system is treated in Dickensian depth and irony. It's just it's an amazing performance as a novel, funny and brutal and bitter and insightful. And I read that and thought, what on earth is this doing in a small, completely obscure self-published edition? How on earth am I not seeing this in some major publisher, being reviewed everywhere by every critic in the world? And I at the time I was writing only for Open Letters Monthly. I sang its praises, and it caught on. Other people found it. It was sent to a whole bunch of other people. Other people found it. Some people found it through me. Some people found it through other places. And he got a deal. It's rare that it happens, but I'm glad that it did. He got a deal to republish the thing with a major press, and is now a working author. I'm not putting too much stress on the working part. I was kind of hoping we'd have 5 novels by now, but this is the perfect example of the thing where I got it, even though I have it, because I'd love to share it. I'd love to send it to somebody. Same thing with this next one. These next two are a little scuffed, but I don't think an enthusiastic reader would really mind. This is The Accursed by Joyce Carol Oates. This is her enormous book about a turn of the century Princeton that is both weird and haunted. And it's just it's full of strange, idiosyncratic characters. It's also full of historical characters too that are done wonderfully, including the best, in odd ways, the most accurate fictional portrayal of Grover Cleveland that I have ever read. Not that that's much of an accomplishment, but to make him fascinating is a fictional feat all by itself. I think it's one of her most impressive novels, and I have it. I have the finished copy, but I found a trade paperback for 25 cents, and I'd love more people to read it, so I got it. Same thing with this next one, which I've praised on this channel at least a couple of times. It's Mark Merlis's An Arrow's Flight, a gay novel about Greek mythology, set in a weird alternate version of the present day. So the main character is the son of Achilles, but he's a gay go-go boy at a nightclub, a neon nightclub, and the war in Troy is like Desert Storm. It's a regular feature, a depressing feature in the nightly news, and seems to be dragging on forever. And the commanders at Troy realize that they're going to need his help to bring the war to a conclusion, which is actually part of the larger Homerica, that the son of Achilles was needed to conclude the war. But the book is just amazing. I'm not doing it justice by making it sound like you need to be steeped in Greek mythology to read it. You don't. It's sharp and funny and sad in a way that this author does really well, but also full of glimmers of hope. It's just an amazing performance. This is a great gay novelist, and this is by far his best book. And I have it. I have a copy of it. This is another example where I got it just because I never see it, and I want to share it. I want to send it to one of you. And the same thing is true of this next one, which you might have seen on Britta's channel. She recently read this, and I'd read it. I was happy to see it on her channel. It reminded me of reading it. I read it years ago, and kind of liked it. And it's this. It's the Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. It's about a housekeeper and her son who are taking care of a professor who he suffered a weird brain injury so that his memory is accurate but extremely self-erasing. Everything before the accident he remembers just fine. Everything after the accident he only remembers for a tiny amount of time and then forgets it again. And it's I mean, that premise right there will tell you a lot of what you need to know about the book. It's openly manipulative, but it's, I thought, very intelligently done, and the especially the portrait of the boy is very sensitive. I was happy to see him in the course. It's a very thin novel, and it's a very quick read. I was happy to see him grow in prominence as the book goes on. Because he was the one I was most interested in. Even though the author does a wonderful job of portraying the sort of quiet, desperate pathos of the professor. And I saw that on her channel. And I thought, oh wow, I love it. I love it when BookTube reads backstock. And then I saw it today for 25 cents, and I thought, well, I already have a copy, but I'll grab it because surely there's somebody out there who saw Britta's video and really was intrigued about the book. And here it is. Here's a copy that I found. It cost me almost nothing. I go to the post office every day. Surely there's a way to make that one little twist that will make this work. Same thing very much with the next book. Woo-hoo! Winter's Tale by Mark Halperin. I think I've sung the praises of this book on my channel before. This is his probably best loved novel, just an opulent novel of a Fantasia version of 19th century New York that its fans will just get that look on their face when you mention it, and I'm one of the fans. I probably have that look on my face right now. It's one of those books, purely magical, in a way that sticks with you forever. And I have a copy. I get copies of. Actually, Winter's Tale is one of those novels that I buy a copy of every time I see it, because I know that I'm going to be able to hand it to somebody. But I'd also be happy to mail it to somebody. Then the last book on the list. It's a Penguin Classic, and it's one that I have, but the one that I have is actually in kind of crappy condition, and this one's in perfect condition. That was sort of the thread of the whole day. So many of these books are in perfect condition, and it's the Robert Fagel's Penguin Classic, just the ordinary black spine Penguin Classic of the Iliad, that has the great introduction by Bernard Knox, and then Fagel's translation. And I have the hardcover of the Fagel's translation, and I have the deluxe Viking trade paperback with the matte finish cover and the flaps and whatnot. But I wanted just an ordinary Penguin Classic for my Penguin Classic shelf. And that's it. That was this out and about mail haul of these used books that I found. And as you can see from the books, it raises the question of how I can be of more service to a sort of a clearinghouse, not just for these books that you might have seen one of these books and said, oh, I want that, but also for all the stuff I didn't get today that I might have gotten if I'd known you wanted it. So we have to figure out a way to do that, short of me wearing Google Glass, which I'm not going to do, but there has to be a way. So ideas are welcome. And I'm gonna wrap up for now, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.